You'll come in, won't you, and have some tea?
Aye, when I've rubbed them down.
Can I help you, Purchase?
You run in and see your sister. She's had a long wait.
Oh, you were beautiful, Tom. Didn't he go well?
He did. Because he likes what he's carrying.
He likes being out of the shafts, don't you, boy? Not carrying a cartload of wretched Pattisons to Richmond and back. That's no life for a spirited creature.
Fairly said. For both of you.
Well, I've still got an hour with you and Robert and Rachel before I go back between the shafts. Don't be a moment longer than you need. We're not complete without you.
Aren't you, though?
Why don't you sit down? Let me do that.
I've been resting all day. A jounce is good for me. Oh, I wish it would work out for Dora and Purchase as it did for us.
Oh, so it may. There's no doubt what my brother feels, and Dora's certainly fond of his company.
Yes, very.
You've always been close to her. Doesn't she tell you what she's feeling?
Not lately. She talks lovingly of Purchase as she does of you or of me. I'm so very, very fond of her. But I don't know anyone with such a natural turn for goodness who at the same time is such a riddle to me.
Do you think she's scared of another of your father's brainstorms, like the one when we got married?
Well, yes. The effect on our unhappy mother, maybe. But she lost the last scrap of respect for Father years ago, when he dismissed old Tommy Bowles for nothing at all. Except that we children so loved the old man. Well, that was when she started calling him the jailer. She's pretty undauntable when she makes up her mind.
I wish you could have been with us today. We rode nearly to Massam.
There's my Rachel. How are you, love? And how's the third person singular, the he or the she?
Quite well behaved at present.
Good.
Robert tells me you had a good day.
Oh, it was. Tom took Wittenfeld splendidly. Coming down was the difficulty. I could hardly hold him.
You should have heard the cheer when she sailed over the wall at Spennythorne.
I hope Tom did.
The cheer was for you, love, not the horse.
It was Tom that grew wings.
I won't ask how things are at home. I can guess.
Well, Brother Mark is coming on a visit tomorrow. That should raise our spirits a little. If we can keep the jailer out of his way. Oh, when Tom and I left that wall, I thought if only I didn't have to land on the other side. I could ride straight on into a world of my own.
It's not altogether impossible. Is it, Rachel?
Oh, my dear, the difference when I got away from the Hawkswell atmosphere. The weight that was lifted off.
There are times when I could throw even my Sunday bonnet over the window. And Rachel, you haven't seen the bonnet that Mark bought me when I stayed with him in Oxford. It cost 8 shillings and 6 pence.
Oh.
I feel almost ashamed to wear it, to think of so much money disappearing to treat me to such luxury.
Why, don't you think you deserve it?
Oh, yes, every woman deserves a nice bonnet once in a while.
Oh, let me know when you're wearing it for Rachel. And I shall come over specially.
Just for a bonnet?
No, not just for a bonnet.
Rachel, before I forget,
What were you going to say?
I've forgotten already.
Do you remember those really hideous velvet bonnets we were made to wear to church? How we begged not to wear them. And then how it rained one day when the parents were out.
And I thought it showed God didn't fancy those bonnets either.
You said, come on, now's our chance to spoil our bonnets and never wear them again. She flung open the window, and we both pushed heads and bonnets into the downpour. Now we'll put them back in the box, she said, to finish them off.
Good for you.
No, it wasn't. Because we were forced to wear them publicly to church every Sunday for months. To break my stubborn will and mortify my vanity. That's what came of making a bid for freedom. So I really know that my instincts are not to be trusted if I give myself time to count 10. Although, dear, 10 takes up so much of the day that I can't help thinking could be better spent.
You're absolutely right.
Am I? Mark thinks I ought to be contented with my lot.
It's all very well for him safely behind a pile of books at Oxford.
Mark does care about us, you know. When we live up to what he expects of us.
Yes, if it hadn't been for Mark making a great plan for reading and studying, I should be half-witted instead of 2/3, which is where I hope I've reached in his estimation. Do you know, Rachel, I thought he'd solved everything when he pointed out how much the Brontes achieved, isolated like us. till I realized I wasn't a genius and it didn't apply. Oh, I do want to be somebody before it's too late. Do you know I dreamt again last night that I was in the Crimea with Miss Nightingale? I was so happy to be there, nursing those poor wounded soldiers. Until suddenly, Miss Nightingale was standing over me with the face and the voice of the jailer, saying exactly as he did, you would be worse than useless, and you have plenty to employ you at home. I woke up. Mother was having a bronchial attack in the next room. I went in to try to cheer her up a little. Oh, she is so unlovable. Pity is all I feel for her. And that's who grieves me. I'm talking too much. It's a great treat after the silence at home, where no one dare say anything for fear of an explosion. Look, Mark. There they are, still sitting in silence round the tea kettle. Always the same gloom and silence, just as it was when we came back from our walks 10 years ago. It makes me so sick at heart. Where have all my hopes gone that things would be better? Here we are, not the same, but worse. And so much of life already over.
It's no good, dear girl, spending her time in regrets. There's no alternative, you know.
So I tell myself. But Mark, you know yourself how difficult it is to keep cheerful when life disappoints you. You have never reconciled yourself to not getting the rectorship at Lincoln College. You've never let the ice thaw from your heart. Yet you know if you're patient, you're bound to get it one day. But with us, patience leads nowhere.
Shall we go indoors?
Oh, Mark, don't be offended. I do want to be worthy of your respect. I count so much on your affection.
Then make a success of what you have, Dora. Persevere with your reading so that you can share my thoughts and studies. And in the next long vacation, I'll take on a country parish for a few weeks, where we can explore and be as contented together as we were at Oxford.
Oh, dear Mark. You're very good to me.
Now, let's brave the house.
Now he has a new way of tormenting us. He won't pay for anything, not even necessary articles of clothing. I feel so ashamed going into the shops in Richmond, knowing our bills are unpaid.
We are using the cheapest material to make our own things. But how shall we keep warm in the winter?
I've given Mother £10 to help with your pocket money.
Oh, thank you, Mark.
Her pride insists on it being a loan.
How will she repay you? Except out of a little bit of capital. Her purse is in a miserable condition. He gives her nothing.
Frank had asked us to visit him in London. That would have been a store of memories to get us through the next long winter. The trunks were packed, the carriage at the door. And then, without warning, it was all cancelled.
Since Eleanor's marriage, he vows we shall go nowhere and see no one. How is it to be borne?
It is almost impossible to carry on, knowing that the person who should be your protector is your deadliest enemy.
The worst horror was when he tried to prevent Eleanor's engagement by spreading around the village that was madness in our family.
Oh, God, why is this curse inflicted on us?
When things get so absurdly frightful, the only hope is to laugh. Rage is too self-defeating. I could hardly keep a straight face when he sent Eleanor into the kitchen to fetch a bucket and scrubbing brush. He pointed an awful finger at them and said, "There is your diary. There is your future."
I tell you, that son of yours brought popery into this house. He infected my daughters. My home became a nest of papists.
No, not papists.
Am I accused of lying?
He was sadly carried away by enthusiasm for those Oxford friends, Mr. Pusey, Mr. Newman. But I prayed that he might see the error of his ways, and I'm sure he has.
And what is he now? A free-thinking churchman? That's what you invite into my house, is it? First my family destroy me, and then befoul the very ground I walk on.
Destroy you? Oh, don't say that.
I do say it. You let me be taken to a madhouse, to the most noisome den to which a clergyman of the Church of England And that clergyman a gentleman. Could have been consigned. And you were too dainty to enter that loathsome dungeon to visit me. Not once did you cross that fateful threshold.
You know the doctor said it would not be for your good. It was 24 years ago.
No time can blot it from my memory. Not if I were to live to the day of doom. By that fateful step, I was deprived of every prospect in life. And now I have to endure the undutifulness of a perverse and unregenerate family.
Oh, dear. It's another storm.
Each one of your children has been...
Anna, dear. Father is not angry with you.
I have prayed that I might be worth your...
Prayed. Well, you prayed to small purpose. Two of your daughters marry like fools. Your younger son spurns his home and departs for the Babylon of London. Your eldest son contaminates the house. And you take it upon yourself to criticize me for disinheriting them.
No. I only asked if you thought it was right. Now that Eleanor has a young family and Rachel has started one...
They flouted my authority and take the consequences. Have you done what I said? Have you altered your will? Am I talking to a mule? Answer me! Deny, if you can, that you're sitting there with mutinous thoughts. You'll do as I say. You'll disinherit them. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I understand what you're saying to me.
Then act upon it. Or carry the consequences for the rest of your life.
It's all over. For the present.
Where's he gone? I'd like to know which door to hurry past.
I think he went into the study. Mother will be having a little weep. I wish I could go to her without making her worse. You can't. She takes a word of sympathy as blasphemy against our Lord and Master. If she only cared for us, independent of what we thought, how we should love her. But she doesn't care a jot for us.
You have to reconcile yourselves to living your lives without the help of a parental affection. Your happiness must depend on what you create within you. I've often told you, the ordering of our individual conduct is what we have to attend to. You'll be tired of hearing it.
Yes, we are a little.
Mark, I trust your warnings have not been thrown away. But the task is very, very difficult. Where right and wrong are fixed only by a tyrannical will.
You must have seen what is happening to Anna. Her nerves are nearly destroyed. She gets worse and worse. We do everything for her.
Mark, you give me a few minutes, my dear. There's a little business matter I want to talk over with you.
Yes, of course, Mother.
A little business matter? Behind a jailer's back? What a strange thing. Oh, poor Mother. She looks so pale and shrunken. If only we could put our arms round her and comfort her. But she'd only flinch. As though we'd struck her.
The door, my dear. As you are the trustee of my little capital, I want you to be clear about my wishes when I pass over. It pains me to oppose your father, and has cost me many weeks of prayer. But I must not distinguish unjustly between the girls. It must be share and share alike with them, however much it offends him. I must not weaken.
I fully support you, my dear mother. You are quite in the right.
I trust and think so.
And, Mother, while we are talking together, if you would only show the girls a little more understanding at other times. Let them see you sympathize when they suffer from Father's irrational behavior.
How can you say such a thing? Of your own father, and a representative among us of God's holy will. This is yet another bitter drop in the cup which it has pleased my Heavenly Father to give me.
I am very sorry if what I say upsets you.
This disunity in our sad family is so hard to bear. And why must I carry the blame? The girls never confide in me. And I'm sure Dora cares more for the headmaster's family at Richmond than she does for her own. I dare not let your father know how often she visits there. The Tates encourage her to depend too much upon worldly things, forgetful of her duty. I could hardly sleep for worry, praying that she may be guided in all her ways by that spirit which cannot err.
And there cries joy to the yells of the little dog, and the sings of the old lady, the sound frightened the white horse, the brown mare, and they all ran away with the family
You'll have to look for your morals, James. You've got quite a rival storyteller in Miss Pattison. Didn't she tell the story well?
She deserves a prize, and she shall have one.
Oh, no, really, Mrs. Tate, I couldn't.
My mother only wore them to give you, Dora. She wants you to have them.
Oh, you've given me so much happiness already. It isn't fair.
Think of all you did for us at the opening of the new school buildings. Painting the heraldic banners, making the garlands. Now you should be garlanded.
You don't understand, Canon Tate. It was like being on a high plateau to me to have any part in it.
Supper is on the table. Will you all come and find your places?
Dora. Oh, James, I do love your family. I love them dearly. You're all so fond of one another.
Yes, and of you too, Dora. You know that, don't you?
That makes it even better.
It can be your own family, you know, if you like me well enough.
I wish it were.
Say you will marry me, Dora. I love you very much. And it does seem right that you should. Well, wouldn't that be the answer to everything?
In a way, yes, it would.
Only in a way.
You'd have to want it very doggedly, James. You'd have to be very heroic and steadfast to stand up to my father.
I'd dare anything for you, Dora.
Well, then, let us go into supper with strong hands.
Come in. Ah, it's you, Mr. James Tate.
Good evening, sir. It's kind of you to wish to see me.
It is neither kind nor unkind of me, neither do I particularly wish it. Circumstances have arisen which require it, or so I am led to suppose. As a friend of my family, I offer you my hand, I offer you a chair, I offer you my attention. What is it you have to say?
Sir, I am a friend of your family. Particularly, I have a special concern. I love your daughter, Dorothy, sir. May I ask your permission to marry her?
You may ask for it, but not have it. I am not usually considered an imprudent man. You evidently think so.
No, sir.
You contradict me. On what grounds?
I have been given a curacy, Mr. Pattison.
Then with 50 or 100 pounds a year, you'll not be a burden on the parish. I'm thankful to hear it.
Sir, with economy, we should...
With economy, you can keep yourself in boots. Well, that is all we have to say to each other.
May I hope for the future?
By that time, I shall be beyond the reach of frivolous questions. Until then, I must ask you not to enter this house again. Not a toe-cap over the threshold. At your peril. Do you hear me?
I'm very sorry to hear you, sir. Very sorry.
Good evening, Mr. James Tate.
What else did you say?
Well, nothing. Nothing else that I can remember.
What you do remember is not very memorable.
I suppose not. Whatever I said, he wouldn't have listened.
But I would, and have admired every word of it. What a pity I can't.
Dora, you're being unfair. After all, he's your father. It would have been fearfully ill-mannered to set myself up against him.
Yes, ill-mannered.
Well, wouldn't it?
Strong parents find their own course. And deep feelings their own good manners, I should have thought.
I'm sorry I've disappointed you.
I'm sorry I ask so much.
In our hearts, we know it makes no difference.
I don't know at the moment what's in my heart, or even if I have one. You'd better not count on it. Something inside me is wasting away. What's the point of pretending we have an understanding when there's still so much to be understood?
Don't say that, Dora.
I'm sorry. I know I'm being prickly. You'd better leave me to walk myself into a better frame of mind. You know I'm going to stay with Mark in Worcestershire.
How long will you be away?
2 or 3 weeks. And I hope when I return, you can look forward to meeting a more reasonable person. That's what I shall try to be at any rate. Dear James, I really don't mean to hurt you.
Seems so contented. It's such a shame. But we must write and warn her of Mother's condition.
She wouldn't thank us if we didn't let her know. We've had a letter from Dora at Knightwick, Fanny. Mark has hired a pony for her, and she's been riding on the Malvern Hills. But read it for yourself.
No. I don't think I want to.
Why not, Fanny? It's as much for you as it is for us.
I mustn't be in their thoughts. I shouldn't be if they knew.
Knew what, Fanny?
The evil in me.
Oh, Fanny, dear.
Don't touch me. Keep your hands clean.
Mark. Dear, what's the matter?
The matter?
Well, aren't you a little frosty for a warm day?
I admit I'm disappointed.
With me?
I thought you would find it idyllic here in a countryside you'd never visited before.
And so I do.
I had looked forward to having your close affection, as I had when you came to Oxford. God knows there's little enough to be come by. I counted on it.
But you have it, Mark. I love being here with you. I love it. And I'm so grateful for all that you've given me.
But restless, not contented. Foolish to have expected anything else with your head full of young Tutin marriage. This whole project was quite mistaken.
Oh, no, that's utterly untrue. I wanted this time with you more than anything, and I still do. Only I'm so anxious about Mother.
Oh? Why?
Well, I was afraid you might pour scorn on me if I told you. But I've dreamt about her, and it's so frightening. Last night and the night before, both times, I saw her. She drew back the bed curtains and she called to me. Dora, Dora, Dora. And I can't help thinking what they say in the Dales about the dying, calling out on the eve of St. Mark.
What superstitious twaddle.
But last night it was more urgent still.
Are you a child? You should grow out of such absurd, uneducated notions.
I should. But I haven't. And it wouldn't be absurd to go into Worcester, would it, Mark? To collect our letters. Humor me in that.
Is there anything you want?
I've asked you for two things. To see Mark, to receive Holy Communion. You've refused me both.
You refused them yourself by your own obstinacy. Are you going to alter your will at my dictation, or are you not? Then expect nothing but retribution. I cannot administer to a sinner who breaks her marriage vows of obedience and is unrepentant. I cannot, and I will not.
I'm home, Mother. I've come to nurse you.
It's been a dark day with me. Give me your hand.
Poor little Mother. I'm so glad you asked her.
No, that's trusting too much to an arm of flesh.
Oh, please, for my sake. I so want your hand in mine.
I must trust in my God alone.
But God has given me to you to help you the little I can.
My poor girls. My dear children.
It has been a long struggle, but now it is over. Her sufferings were so great, and one felt so powerless to help. Our father never entered her room the last 2 days, but she never asked for him. So this last neglect cost her no pain.
Robert has taken your goddaughter to see the new lamb. They'll be back before long. But I wanted a little time alone with you.
You're not pleased with me. No one is. I'm even less pleased with myself.
We can't make you out. Mark keeps writing to ask what is going on. In the last letter, he accused me of concealing things from him. But I can't tell him what I don't know. All I could say was that I feared things weren't going smoothly between you and James. When I spoke to you about the coming marriage, you were distressed and avoided the subject. Well, he's so hurt that you haven't confided in him.
And blames you. That grieves me very much. I shall write and tell him so. Although he hasn't answered any of my letters since I chided him about not attending Mother's funeral. Affection means so much to me. And I make such a hash of it. Rachel, I've written to James. I've told him I can't marry him.
Oh, poor James.
Yes, poor James. I'm fearfully to blame. The Tates have been so good to me. Now they won't want to hear my name mentioned again.
I'm so lost trying to follow the path you take. What goes on in you?
You know how fond I am of Purchase.
Yes. I do.
I watch him when he moves. Feel the movement almost. So intense. intensely. When he smiles or laughs, even in the slightest way, I want to keep it to myself. I like the look of him most strongly. So I lost sight of James. Not altogether, but somewhat. That wouldn't do.
Indeed not. None of it will, Dora. Unless you realize how cruelly you are using Purchase. He has loved you deeply all these years. You gave him some cause for hope. And then suddenly you engage yourself to James. Yet even then you made so much of Purchase. How can he bear it? You mustn't. You must not give Purchase hope again. Unless you mean to marry him.
I'm going to start my life all over again. My fault has been that wherever the sunlight struck the water, I plunged in without any consideration. It struck here with you and Robert and Purchase. But there's a warning in the brightness of it that tells me I must not be here. I've made up my mind to leave Hawkswell and make my own way.
Leave Hawkswell?
I've applied for a teaching post in a village in Buckinghamshire. I've invested £70 of Mother's money. The other 20 she'll tide me over till I get my first earnings. What a proud day that will be. I can hear what Mark would say. What nonsense, that silly girl trying to teach others when she knows nothing herself. But I weighed my powers. I like teaching. I think I can do it. Come in.
Good morning, Miss Pattison.
Good morning, Mr. Hill.
Thank you. Are you managing all right? I hope the children aren't bothering you.
How could they? They are my family. And Billy here is worth a brigade. We shall soon be shipshape.
I have brought a copy of the Education Committee's report, which I thought may guide you a little. I've marked a passage. It sums up quite succinctly. Perhaps I may read it to you.
Billy, will you put my teapot on the dresser carefully, please?
Yes, here it is. It is quite possible to teach a child all that he needs to know by the time he is 10 years old. He shall read a paragraph in a newspaper with sufficient ease. If gone to live at a distance from home, he shall write his mother a letter that shall be legible and intelligible. He shall know enough of ciphering to make out a common shop bill. This being all that is necessary.
All that is necessary?
And to learn his catechism, of course, and to be able to follow a plain sermon. But, well, I won't bother you with it now. I shall leave it here on the table. Until tomorrow morning, then.
Thank you. I think we can do better than that. Don't you, Billy? Yes, we can. Dearest Rachel, it's a long time since I wrote to you. It's not easy to have a quiet hour to myself, and I'm happy it is so, for I want to use all the talents God has given me in his service. The children come running to school now as though to a family party. Secretly, the very little ones are my favorites. They listen so big-eyed to my stories, endlessly interested. It keeps my imagination at full stretch. The big girls, too, are so touching. My arms quite ache with brushing their tangled hair. And at night, there is plenty of nursing to do. Wages are too low for doctors' bills. There's no chemist shop nearer than Newport Pagnell, so they send for me. I wish I knew more. But I learn from experience. Rachel, my little silver teapot has gone. I'd been out sitting with a man in the village who was dangerously ill. He died about midnight. I laid out the body and walked home through the fields about 2 in the morning. I saw a light burning in my kitchen, picked up my skirts and ran, burst open the door, but a tramp who had come begging earlier in the day escaped through the schoolroom window with my teapot. It tells me I must not get fond of possessions, though people get taken away too. And I can't cure myself of loving people.
Dear Dora, Fanny has been seriously ill, and alas, it is not bodily illness, but mental. She became convinced she had committed a dreadful crime and must escape from the house and hide where she could no longer bring disgrace on her family. She believed Mark would never forgive her. She wouldn't eat or drink except penitential bread and water, nor permit anyone to touch her. She insisted she was impure and accused herself of having improper communication with Frank. In her agony of mind, she threatened to destroy herself. She is under the care of Dr. Forbes Winslow at the Sussex House Asylum, Hammersmith, and already, thank God, is showing great improvement.
I partly blame myself for your pleurisy, Miss Pattison. I should have taken your cold more seriously. I remember telling you not to give way, but I was thinking of the children. I regret that I said it.
You need not, Mr. Hill. I had no intention of giving way.
I was soon aware of that, my dear. To my dismay.
It was fine foolishness. Going out in nights, nursing in all weathers, 3 miles and back through sopping fields with a Coffet-Barker dog out of his skin.
Oh, we shall pack her off on our holidays, won't we, Mrs. Norris, as soon as she's well enough to make the journey?
Aye, she must have her holiday. Though it'll be fasting and praying time here till she's back. Glad as we shall be to think of her resting. You be sure you go, miss.
Yes, I will. You know, when I was reading just now, I was already halfway to a fishing village where I had my first sight and sound of the sea. It seemed so apt. Where is it now? Hence, in a season of calm weather, though inland far we be, our souls have sight of that immortal sea which brought us hither, can in a moment travel thither, and see the children sport upon the shore, and hear the mighty waters rolling evermore.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought you were far away in Buckinghamshire.
Well, I've been given a holiday, and where better than here in Cotham?
But it was only by chance I walked over from Mask today. You know I have a living there now. Or was it a guiding providence?
I'm glad, whichever it was. Conversation with the sea was beginning to pall a little. Waves lose something of their wit in November, which is why I was bold and talked to those nuns over there. I was asking them about their hospital in North Ormsby, and they're going to show me the convalescent home here. I'm already a little envious of them.
Will you come over to Mask and see my church? Take a look at the parish. All farmers and fishermen. I can borrow a pony trap and drive you over. Will you do that?
I'd love to.
Where are you staying?
Oh, with a nice Mrs. Clegg who cozies me like a teapot. In fact, a pot of tea is waiting for me now. If you'd care to join me.
I would. Very much. Are you happy at wherever it is?
Little Woolston.
Is it the life you want, Dora? Are you never lonely?
It
troubles me to think of you alone in that cottage. Being ill so far away from home. Tramps climbing in and out of your windows.
One tramp, one window.
You may laugh, it troubles me all the same.
You're a very considerate, gentle, tender person, James.
No, it's just that... Do you have to go back so soon? Do you have to go back at all?
Yes, I have to go back. Of course I do.
I'm very reluctant to let you go.
I'm so fond of you, James. You don't bear grudges.
If only we could spend more time together.
Well, we have 10 days of whatever time you can spare.
They shall all be Dora days for me if you'll have them so. Nothing and nobody shall come in the way of that. I hadn't realized. Heaven knows I wouldn't want to distress you. It hadn't entered my head that you'd be so upset.
It would never do.
I'm afraid your mother is right, James. It is well over and done with. There it should have been left.
Surely you've been hurt enough by the girl. I dread to think how it might end.
You were both very fond of her at one time.
Not after the way she treated you. But that isn't the only thing.
Would you have me treat her in the same way?
Is her father sane?
No. Not always. At least at one time he was not.
And you know her sister Fanny was put into an asylum, threatening to do away with herself.
It is not so now. She's quite recovered. And I'm not asking to marry Fanny.
You are asking your children to share that family's blood. And I'm not at all sure that Dora herself...
Mother, really? That's monstrous.
We are very afraid for you, James.
The kind of impulsiveness, that quick excitement she has, shows a lack of balance that will give me no rest to the end of my days.
Have you really weighed deeply the chances of happiness, the life ahead for both of you?
I thought I had. But I couldn't be happy without your blessing. Or knowing that I had failed in duty. Or brought the least shadow of trouble to the dearest of parents.
We may not have so many more years together.
I will write to her.
God bless you, my boy.
As he will. I'm quite certain you will find such rewards.
I will write to her.
Come in. Good morning, Mr. Hill.
A bad morning, Miss Pattison. A sad one, for you leaving us. I can tell you the whole village has a moist eye. Many of the children are openly in tears.
Oh, bless them. My roots aren't coming away easily either. I shall miss them hugely.
We cheer ourselves with the thought of your future happiness. I understand you're leaving us to get married.
Sit down, Mr. Hill. Yes, I thought when I gave in my notice. Do you remember once saying that you thought the nursing I was able to do here meant as much to me, or even more, than teaching the children? I am not going to get married, Mr. Hill.
You are not?
Only to another way of life, which I trust, which I truly believe is the right one. My sister Fanny has joined a nursing sisterhood in Yorkshire, and I intend to do likewise.
To be a nun?
It's an Anglican order, Mr. Hill. Don't be shocked. It's taken me a long time to realize what was always so clear. The place I was meant to fill. With a single eye to God's service, my whole heart given to God. And I must confess, I am more than a little attracted by the bonnets the novices wear.
No, sister, that's not how it's meant to be. We must begin again. Now, my dear, don't get disheartened. That will never do.
The point is, will I ever really do?
Why ever not?
Yes. Why ever not? I'll start again. Has anyone noticed?
Noticed what?
I'm wearing my bedroom slippers. I've lost the shoe.
You can't have lost it.
Yes, I did. I slipped out at night without permission, just to get one breath of the sea. And a drunk man shouted at me, "I'm coming to get you," and made a grab for me. I took to my heels, but one of them stuck in the wet sand, and my shoe got left behind. Do you suppose I ought to confess it?
It's not a very serious crime.
But that isn't all. I find it very painful to pray.
To pray, Dora? Painful?
Well, I could never confess this. The sisters and the chaplain would be horrified. You know that large, handsome donkey on the shore that has a reputation for bucking anyone that tries to get on him? Well, I asked the donkey man to let me have a try. I was sure I could manage him. But he reared and plunged and landed me on the shingle, and I grazed my knee rather badly. That's why it's painful to pray.
Oh, Dora.
I don't want to tell anyone but you unless you think I ought to, because I'm so ashamed of my lack of decorum and gravity. Fanny, love, I know it's my vocation to be a nurse. But is it my vocation to be a nun?